Welcome to K. Elizabeth Toasts, a podcast celebrating people who increase our quality of life. I'm your host, K. Elizabeth, a licensed counselor, coach, and PhD who is interested in what people do to make others' lives better through the lens of the 5 social determinants of health. The World Health Organization says these 5 social determinants can impact up to 55% of our health outcomes. In this episode, our guest shares how they impact the social determinant of social and community context. Give a listen if you need a dopamine hit, or if you like toast, because this toasts for you. Just a heads up, in the first couple of minutes, there's a syllable dropped here and there due to a sound issue, but I promise you, it's worth sticking around.
My name is Viva Weber Carr, and I am the Director of Operations and Community Engagement for a nonprofit here in the Twin Cities called Giving Voice. I joined Giving Voice in 2017 as a volunteer. So through this crazy series of events, I lived in Los Angeles for about 20 years of my life. I had just moved to Minneapolis, and my brother lives here and was a journalist here. And he just happened to find them and do a big story on them in 2017. And so I'm driving down the road one morning and I'm listening to him on the radio and I'm like, what is this group? Like, this is the greatest thing ever, right? I was so excited. I personally am a singer and I had a singing career. And I, at that time, had already had an experience with my mother's mother living with us when I was in high school with the diagnosis. So it was very personal to me. And there was music involved. And I was like, where do I go? Right. So I actually just started as a volunteer. And then it was 2021 that I sort of, became a different type of member when I got as my mother's care partner. So I've experienced it from many different angles. And so when my mother passed, I told Giving Voice, you're never getting rid of me. This organization has meant so much to me. It did so much for my mother in the last year of her life. It is profound, the impact it had. And so you're never getting rid of me. So just know that I will do whatever you need. I will be a lifetime volunteer. I will do whatever. And there just happened to be a part-time job that has now grown into my new career.
What is Giving Voice?
Exactly. Let's just start there. It was founded in 2014 by 2 incredible women named Mary Leonard and Marge Ostrushko. Say that 5 times fast.
No, thank you. I'm going to leave that to you.
I have to really think about it when I say it. These 2 incredible women started this 10 years ago, as I said. And the concept at the time, this is really when research about how music affects the brain was really starting to emerge and start to come out. Both of them had personal experiences with a loved one that had Alzheimer's, and they thought, this is really powerful, right? There is something here. So the idea was to start a choir. And the choir was for people living with Alzheimer's or any other type of dementia and their care partners. So it was serving more than one purpose, right? This was something that people did together as a duo. And 10 years later, here we are. There are 5 Twin Cities choirs and over 50 throughout the United States.
Wait. Giving Voices all over the United States?
All over. After they discovered, wow, this really works, this is a thing, they then figured out how to duplicate it, right? Okay, let's figure out how to teach other people how to do this. So all the while they were creating these incredible resources for people to be able to launch one of these choirs, they were launching other choirs here in the Twin Cities. So we sort of do both things at the same time. We run our 5 Twin Cities choirs, and we are constantly a resource and a guide for anyone anywhere who wants to start one of these choirs. We have an open source toolkit. We will meet with you and help you get it off the ground and sort of give you training and education and all of that. And so over the years, as I said, over 50, what we call them is our Giving Voice Network choirs, have launched using our model.
That's amazing.
I know.
So for the 5 choirs that exist here in the Twin Cities, what does it look like? What happens?
Yeah. Giving Voice is a place of joy. Giving Voice is a really safe space for anybody that is living with any type of dementia diagnosis and their care partner to come. You go to a rehearsal once a week, and when you are at rehearsal, many things happen. The first is that you are actually learning a repertoire of music, right? So you are coming in and it's the fall semester and it's 12 weeks long and you have a repertoire of music and you are learning all the music. And then at the end, there's a performance. So in that way, it's a choir rehearsal, very simply. But it's so much deeper than that. Giving Voice is a place of joy and empowerment, and it is a safe space. So if you are living with a diagnosis, there is just an unspoken understanding from everybody in the room of how to lift those people up and how to make them feel empowered and make them and remind them that they can still contribute to society. The person with dementia lives their life being told 90% of their day what they cannot do. And so Giving Voice is a place where there's nothing that they cannot do. We have a motto in a Giving Voice rehearsal: there is no wrong in this room. I don't care if you're a singer. I don't care if you're a musician. I don't care if you know how to read sheet music. I don't care if the only singing you've ever done is really bad singing in your shower. Great. There is a place for all of us, because it's not about that. It's about creating this space where people feel seen and comfortable. Our care partners get just as much out of it, maybe sometimes more, because our care partners are in a space where they don't have to explain their loved one.
Yeah.
This is such respite for them. They bond with other care partners. They share resources. They share tips. Their shoulders to cry on for each other. There's such this understanding, this silent understanding that everybody in the room gets it.
That's amazing. So it's 1 hour of rehearsal every week.
It's 90 minutes of actually rehearsing, and then another 30 minutes of snack time, which, let's face it, is the best part. Okay. We're very good at getting delicious snacks to Giving Voice rehearsals. Music, honestly, is secondary. Music is our tool to provide a safe space of community and joy, right? We're doing it through music, but we're not there because we are professional musicians and we have a show to put on. That's not what it's about, right? So our social time is tackling the other most insidious part of this diagnosis, which is social isolation. So we are providing a space, I say it over and over again, where people can connect with other people. And this social time, this is everything. There are people who don't leave their home except for Giving Voice. And it is their one time a week to feel connected to human beings and to not feel that sting of social isolation that we know factually will speed up this diagnosis.
At one point in time, you said, so it turns out this works. What does work look like?
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good question. Work looks like somebody that is far enough along in their diagnosis that they are not verbal anymore, coming to our rehearsal and singing. Work looks like a mother who, again, maybe has lost the ability to really express herself verbally and through language with her family, hearing her daughter next to her and proudly saying, "That's my daughter." I had a husband come up to me last week and say, and his sweet, sweet wife is one of my favorites. And he came up and he just said, she was having a really rough morning. I didn't think we were even going to get her here. Look at her. She's so happy and she's smiling. And that's it. That's how we know it's working. We know it's working because the care partners come to us and they say, my loved one comes alive when they are here in this space. And we know it works because our care partners come to us and say, thank you. This time that I get to connect with my loved one is so meaningful. I'm going to give you the most personal example.
Please.
So I had the great honor of being in the choir as my mother's care partner in her last year of life. And my mother, for really the last 4 or 5 years of her life, was pretty much immobile. And definitely in the last year of her life, she'd given up. It sounds really harsh, but that's where we were at. She was no longer finding a reason to engage with life. She was no longer really trying to engage with life. When her nurses would come and try to get her out of bed every morning to go get a meal or whatever, she would say no. So she was completely socially isolated and the quality of life was non-existent. When we were in choir together, it was during COVID, and we have a virtual choir that was launched as a reaction to COVID, but still exists. So I would show up to her apartment every Wednesday morning so we could sit in front of my computer and do our choir rehearsal. And every Wednesday morning, I would open the door and she was dressed. And she was sitting in her wheelchair and she was ready to get to the living room. And that's what it works looks like. This experience, this connecting with other humans, this finding joy through music was quite literally the one thing that she would still engage with in her life and find meaning in.
I have some logistical questions.
I love it.
So the concerts themselves, is it the caregivers as well as the people with a diagnosis?
Yes, absolutely. What sets us apart from, for instance, like a sing-along at an assisted memory care facility, which, by the way, bring it on, right? Like all the music therapy in every form possible, bring it on. What makes Giving Voices model specific is that you do join as a duo. Generally, our choirs, our ideal ratio is a third, a third, a third. So it's a third people living with a diagnosis, a third their care partners, and then a third volunteers. And we have volunteers because sometimes a duo will come. And for instance, it's a husband and a wife, and they don't sing the same voice part. She's a soprano and he's a bass. So we have a volunteer swoop in and sit next to the person with a diagnosis and help them throughout rehearsal.
Approximately how many people are a part of each choir?
Yeah, great. Part of the logistics of running a choir like this is making sure that everybody that enters the room feels really safe every week. So, specific chairs for them to sit in, familiar faces, making sure that they know when they come, oh yeah, I sit next to that person and this feels right and this feels safe, right? So once it gets too big, it can be a little overwhelming. So we do like to cap it at 50. Right now, our St. Paul choir is a little bit over that because it's very popular. But a really solid average is around 40.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's a really lovely group of people to be singing.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
How do you choose the music?
So we do many things to support anybody who walks in that space. All of our singers are given both sheet music and lyric sheets. So if sheet music looks completely foreign to you and it just confuses you, here's a sheet of lyrics. Just follow along with the words. But in terms of picking the repertoire, it is always a combination of 80% songs that they will recognize on some level, right? Sort of from that era, generational. We like to 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, right? That's kind of our core magic time right there. And we pick, songs from those eras. But then 20% is a brand new song. And we do that for a really specific reason. Again, going back to stigma, it is incorrect that a person with Alzheimer's cannot learn something new. So this is how we show the community that. We had an unbelievable 10-year concert back in June to celebrate our 10th anniversary. And there were 3 brand new songs that nobody knew that had been written for them that they performed.
Wow.
I know. So that leans into how we're trying to really combat the stigma.
So if there are new songs and someone's in the late stage of dementia, how do they remember? Do they remember the new songs? Does it matter if they remember the new songs?
Yeah, this is the ultimate question. When somebody gets a diagnosis of Alzheimer's or any other type of dementia, a great way to think about it is your body, you as a person, are a bookshelf. And on the top 3 shelves are the facts of your life. Who you are, what your children's names are, what your wife's name is, how many pets you have, where you're from, what you did for a living, what you learned in 8th grade geography, what you ate for breakfast this morning. Anything that is a fact about who you are is on those top 3 shelves. Your bottom shelf is what makes you a person. Personality, your emotions, your morals, the things that you feel strongly about. And on that bottom shelf is music. And when you get this diagnosis, the shelf starts to tip back and forth. And things start flying off those top 3 shelves. But the bottom shelf stays pretty stable. And you might try to grab one of those facts back and put it back on the shelf. I got it now. But it's just going to keep rocking. And it's going to keep flying off the shelf. But what never flies off the shelf? Who we are as a human. And music is part of that. Music is embedded so deeply in our experience of moving through life that it is one of the last things that go. We would be here for 7 hours if I could give you a beautiful example of all of the times that we're in rehearsal and people light up because the first 3 chords happen and this was the song that they remembered dancing with their husband to at their wedding. Or this was the song that was playing at their kid's 5th birthday party and it's always been a favorite song. Or this was the song that was playing on the first date in the bowling alley. I actually just was at rehearsal this morning with this wonderful woman. And our Monday morning chorus is in partnership with Schmidt Music in Bloomington, which is phenomenal. And so she walks in and she's like, oh my God, these pianos. Like she's so excited. Her eyes light up. There's just pianos everywhere. And she just goes right over and starts playing a song. Because it doesn't leave. It doesn't leave.
It can tell our story. Common destiny. It has told our story.
Is there anything else that you want to add before I make a transition?
I mean, I want to tell everybody to join. No.
Absolutely.
I certainly want to encourage anybody, that's listening in the community, to check us out and to look us up and to, if you are having reservations or you're not sure that could this be something amazing for my loved one? It seems scary. I'm not a singer, whatever your reservations are, just come to rehearsal. Really. We will welcome you with open arms. You can experience a rehearsal, see how it feels, and then decide if it's right for you and your loved one. But just try it, because you know, we want a giving voice choir in every community across the country. We have big dreams.
If you could thank a person for improving your quality of life, who would you thank?
The first answer that immediately comes into my heart is I would thank the singers. And I'm going to get emotional. But they truly give me so much more than I could ever give them. Seeing their resilience and their kindness and their openness to still go out in the world and live their life and not let this take them down and all the other things, right? I just truly, every single time I go to a rehearsal, I am deeply, deeply grateful for getting to be a part of it and for these awesome humans that I get to see every single week and give big hugs to. Oh my God, I get so many good hugs. And that improves your quality of life. Let me tell you, I get the greatest hugs when I go to these choirs. The two founders, the incredible staff that has run it for 10 years, the hearts of the directors and the volunteers, and just it is a community of people that just give so much of themselves, and they all deserve a huge toast.
Cheers to the singers, and cheers to the founders, and cheers to everyone involved in giving voice. Cheers to them.
Cheers to them.
Viva, for taking the time to listen to your brother on the radio, for taking the time to look into giving voice, for becoming a volunteer, for recognizing that your mom could also benefit, as well as you, to be a member in addition to being a volunteer, to your current role, for the energy that you bring, the passion that you bring, the love and the joy that you bring to the organization and to the people around you, to energize other people as well. So for all of that, this toast is for you. Cheers.
Thank you.
Now it's your turn. Honor someone who has made your life better by recommending them as a guest or by recording a toast to them at ketoasts.com to positively impact my life and to keep us going. Tap the follow button, rate us using the star button, and share this episode with someone who could use some good news. Then, go toast up some bread, because every positive action is worth toasting.
I can't be the one that's given credit for giving voice. It's just, it is a team of incredible humans, so I have to say that out loud. I am the crazy skeleton house. The least interesting thing about the people in our choirs is their diagnosis. It really is. They're just humans who have lived incredible lives and have given so much to the world. And he will just tell some stem winders, right? Like, he is just amazing and we love it. And he's had this fascinating life. He's this amazing musician and he's played with all these incredible people and he's just a wonderful human. And I was sitting there the other day and we were singing a Willie Nelson song. And he had a story about Willie Nelson. And it was awesome. And it went on for a solid 15 minutes. He just had a space to be himself and share himself. And everybody was there for it. And I just loved it so much. It made me so happy.